This is Talk for Food. Your portal into quantum possibility. I'm Adam Abraham. Each week I'll be your guide on this expedition where we'll explore the near and far reaches of this thing called life on Earth and beyond. Talk for Food is brought to you by
Philos Books, publishers of I Am My Body Not, A Freed Man, an Emancipation Proclamation, and Transdermal Magnesium Therapy, and producers of Understanding MMS, Conversations with Jim Humble, the only feature-length documentary on the subject of the miracle mineral supplement on Earth. Hello again, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Talk for Food, which comes to you each week over webtalkradio.net and iTunes and even visually on YouTube. I'm Adam Abraham, your major domo in the quest to journey into realms of quantum possibility, to get to the core of what works, how things work, and not only how things work, but how do we interact with those things? How, in fact, do we originate? How do we influence the things that are out there influencing us? Our journey into quantum possibility essentially is really a journey to the mirror, looking at ourselves, because ultimately when we find and seek the sources, the causes, the inertial or the initial thrusters of our experience, and I'm just searching for words as I go along here, it eventually gets back to us, the source. All right. Now, you might think the source is out there someplace. It certainly appears as though it is. You may think that the solution is out there someplace. It certainly appears that it is, because it may be in something that we think we don't have. It could be in the form of money. It could be in the form of health. It could be in the form of relationships or some type of condition that we're waiting to see happen or to make happen, or we think just nothing can change for the better unless those external things happen. But ultimately, I'm discovering, as I've been searching and looking, is that it really gets down to something within us, within me. All right? Something that I can do. There is always something that I can do that can make this situation, whatever it is, no matter how untenable it may be, it's something that I can do to make it better. And oftentimes, we are sitting around with the idea that there is nothing that we can do. And therefore, if we are in that mindset, then guess what? We do nothing. We be nothing that can be transformative. The more I learn about who we are, about what we are, about this reality, the more I come to appreciate the power that is vested within each one of us to change this world, change our life for the better. I don't care if we're on our deathbed. If a person is laying there and saying, hey, I don't think I'm ready yet, at that point in time, all of the forces of the universe will work and rally in your behalf to change your perception of the reality that you have created for yourself, because we are always creating that reality. That is the factor that science today, as presently practiced, has basically stepped up and tried to keep us out of. We are looking at the world and reality as observers and as components that reality happens to. At least that is the story that we are continually fed. I mean, from our education system and everything else, all these things happen, and therefore you're going to think of, you're going to look as important Only those things that someone has told you is important. You're going to think about them only what someone has told you to think about them. You're going to do as you're told. But the truth is, you are creating it. And even those authorities are our creation. And if we want those authorities to change how they approach us, then we're going to have to change our view of them. And no one can take that power away from you. No one. So, let's get to the point of today, because that's the story. That's what Talk for Food is about. It's not only about food. In fact, it's only occasionally about food. But it is always about information that nourishes the entire being, connecting us with the oneness of who we are and the power that we have to transform our life. A couple weeks ago, I went to Albuquerque, New Mexico. I say a couple weeks ago, as this show is being produced recently, and then one day it's going to be a long time ago, so because time is always in motion. But nonetheless, I went to the Extraordinary Technology Conference in Albuquerque, New Mexico of 2011, and I met some extraordinary people. In our show today, we're going to have one of those people. His name is Paul Pantone. He's an inventor, and for some decades, he has been presenting some concepts, some technologies that can really transform our world, that can make a significant contribution to the way life unfolds right now. Okay? The way life is unfolding right now is many, you might say calamitous experiences are occurring, events are occurring. And we are sitting around thinking we are powerless, watching it, or either waiting for it to happen, when in fact there are things that we can do. There are actions that we can take. There are methods that we can employ, and we have been able to employ for many, many years. And at the very core of it, there is consciousness that we can apply to these conditions that we don't know that we can do, and we have not been practiced at doing. So I'm going to talk more about that as we go along, but we're going to take a break. We're going to have start off with some comments I made at the conference while I was in my hotel room, some hotel observations, all right, about the event and about the people and about the situation that we in the world and in America in particular are in, and what we can do about it. And then we're going to meet Paul Pantone, the developer of GEET International, GEETinternational.com, GEET, and we're going to chat some, put it all in perspective. So thank you for being here. We'll be right back when Talk for Food returns with Adam Abraham on webtalkradio.net.
American adventurer Jim Humble discovered how a simple chemical compound and powerful oxidizer, chlorine dioxide, could be effectively used to reduce toxicity within the human body. The buzz on Jim's discovery, MMS, Miracle Mineral Supplement, is spreading, but not the understanding. Until now. Understanding MMS, Conversations with Jim Humble is a new DVD available only at understanding-mms.com. The Understanding MMS DVD will show how you can be part of your own solution to toxicity. Here's the documentary producer.
This is Adam Abraham, inviting you to get informed and help others to be informed of this amazing way to reduce the body's load of toxins, harmful microorganisms, and pathogens from the waters inside our body.
Get your understanding today for only $29.95 at understanding-mms.com. That's understanding-mms.com. Use passcode RBN to receive 10% off.
Our health really depends on it. This portion of Talk for Food starts right here and now on webtalkradio.net with Adam Abraham, and the Extraordinary Energy Technology, or the Extraordinary Technology Conference is what it is. It's also called Tesla Tech, and you might
assume, and correctly so, that it is in some ways inspired by the work of and the impact that Nikola Tesla has had in terms of out-of-the-box thinking. Many of the methods and technologies that even Tesla came up with were suppressed, if you will, and were stunted. But yet we have had an amazing shift in our society, in our culture, and in the way we do life, due to many of the developments and inventions that Nikola Tesla brought into being. But there's more. There's far, far more than we have put into place that could have a tremendous impact on our life and on our world, even today, that can help us turn things around, not only from the Tesla Tech Conference, but in the spirit of it. Okay, and so what we're going to do here is we're going today. Our guest is going to be Paul Pantone, the developer of the GEET, GEET technology. GEET stands for Global Environmental Energy Technology. So I guess to say GEET technology is redundant, but nonetheless, GEET is Global Environmental Energy Technology. Paul Pantone is a developer of a wide range of methods and approaches, but one of them that we're going to talk about here is something called a fuel processor, and it's a technology that he has that's been available for several decades. This is not new, but when you're going to hear, in fact, to start off, we're going to have some comments that I made before the show, not before the show started, but before I started my day after the first day of the show. After I'd seen some of these presentations the first day.
It's one other thing that I want to say is, we talk about extraordinary technology. Oftentimes today we're talking about suppressed knowledge, suppressed information. We are talking about, and the conversation often goes around what has been suppressed, who has been killed, who has been told not to do something because it is someone else, someone who perceived to be bigger than us, doesn't want it to happen. And yet we are continuing to see our world sink. We're continuing to see our country, the United States, become a second world country based on the way we have been doing things. And I'm going to say we have been doing things because I'm going to presume that we are changing. The question is, are we changing quickly enough? Technology, the knowledge that is in this conference, is part of what has been and what is how we can change our world for the better. But it means we need to know of it, we need to get it out, we need to use it, we need to embrace it. And then for that to happen, you need to demand it, or in other words, you need to perhaps change your habits. And that may be something as simple as choosing to be healthy and choosing to do processes, do methods, change your life in such a way so that your health improves rather than go down the tube. It can be that simple. If not, it can start there. We really can't improve our world if we don't improve our personal world, and that includes me. I'm doing the same thing. I'm realizing it. And so some of the people that I'm going to be sharing on this video have been persecuted. And when you first listen to them, you're thinking, no, this paranoia and all that other stuff. You can't know what paranoia is until you've been in the shoes of one who has had the experience. I can't discount their experience, and some of their experiences are not pleasant, and they also don't speak well for our country. But on the other hand, they indicate why our country is becoming a second world nation. I have a personal friend with MMS who is, I don't know if I think they did come in with guns, but they came in to intimidate.
Oftentimes it's just a show of a gun. You know, you flash this, we just want to scare you. Well, I'm sorry. That is not really going to bring you, the gun holder, what you want. And I don't care if it's a government or an individual. You know, we have to change our ways if we're going to change our reality. The way our reality is going right now is, well, I'll put it this way. I'm not suggesting that it's going to stay that way, because I actually believe we're going to change it for the better. That's my intention, it's my desire, it's my vision. And for me, it's going to change for the better, no matter what I go through. But I'm going to be sharing with you some people who have gone through and are willing to say some of what they have experienced. And it ain't pretty, but that is also part of why they are extraordinary. They are extraordinary in their love and their compassion for humanity and what they have done, the knowledge that they have brought forth, the efforts that they have made to understand how to fix the problems of our world. And shame on us if we don't use them. Shame on us if we don't value these people. Shame on us if we don't treasure them. And when I see a government agency that doesn't treasure people who have done no harm, then what's the point in having that as a government? It's that government is a good thing, but only if it is serving the people, not if it is intimidating and suppressing. And unfortunately, there's too much of the intimidation and suppression going on in my book. It needs to change.
Utah inventor Paul Pantone has developed what he calls the GEET fuel processor, a plasma generator similar to a super carburetor that actually appears to run on 80% water and is entirely non-polluting.
This device replaces the carburetor and exhaust and combines them as one unit, whereas this end of it acts as a miniature refinery, allowing the engine to run on everything from battery acid and water mixed to crude oil right out of the ground. This is Angola crude, a 39.5 gravity. The exhaust coming down goes around and comes out here at the far end. The center chamber draws some of the heat from the exhaust, plus this tube takes some of the exhaust gases, takes them up into the chamber and bubbles them down to the bottom. The bubbles, as it comes through the fuel, are brought up to the top of the chamber, picked up through a tube, and fed up the center of the exhaust pipe. While they're being fed up the exhaust pipe, they are in a vacuum, and there's a heat exchange which occurs. This process has been argued a few times to be either a plasma field, an electro field. We do know that it does have a slight radiation, which is not alpha, beta, or gamma, and we do have x-rays to show that whatever is coming from the unit does get affected different from stainless steel than the regular steel. Go. When the temperature of the exhaust is the same as the air temperature going in from the air portion up here, normally 3% more oxygen coming out of the tailpipe than there is in the air we're breathing. And no carbon at all.
Carbon vanishes.
I wouldn't say vanishes, I would say transmuted into some other substance, a lighter element, because we have an abundance of lighter elements here that are not explained from down here. But during the heat process, there are molecular changes. After running this engine from 1983 until now, and many times we had it running 8.5 hours a day, we have never had to change the spark plug, change the oil, or clean it. We have taken the head off 3 times to inspect the inside of it, and it's been spotless.
We're at the 2011 Extraordinary Technology Conference in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We're about to talk with Paul Pantone, who spent the last 30 years if I can get my microphone all set together and stuff, developing a technology that's referred to as GEET, G-E-E-T. We'll talk to him about what it is. But in addition to that, and you might hear the waterfall, we're in the lobby of the Pyramid Marriott Hotel here in Albuquerque. And so it's an open setting. But and it's evening. This is the end of the first full day. I don't know if it's the end of the first full day. I think they did some things yesterday. But anyway, it is twilight, dusk, lights going down. So I found a lamp to sit next to and chat with him. So I think you're going to find this fascinating. I found his presentation amazing. The GEET technology is essentially a fuel processor. Let's start right there, and we'll just we'll go from there. So he'll be here shortly, and we'll have this chat. We'll take it where it goes. I am fairly, and specifically, I could say, new to this. So there are people who've been knowing about this for quite some time. I'm not one of them. So you'll learn with me, or you'll see what I don't know.
You got to edit out the beer if I grab one.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'll reserve or preserve your virtue here.
Yeah.
I don't mind telling you. First of all, I was amazed by your presentation. I have heard of GEET before.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what it is. Okay. And so my audience, I can't. They may know, they may not, but they're going to have to listen with me and learn with me. So I did see in there that it talks about fuel processor. So let's just, for a newbie, let's go into what that is.
It is a method of treating the fuel before it's delivered to an engine, a furnace, or a boiler, so that the fuel becomes 2 to 3 times more efficient than it was, and has normally about 90 to 95% less pollution.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Right off, that has a lot of significance, amazing significance to it.
Well, I've made 181 discoveries that I've already published for copyright purposes, and there's about another 50 that we haven't taken the time yet to draw all the pictures out on. And I'm bringing in all the scientists I can from around the world, PhDs in all fields, that are going to be coming in to work with me so we can validate all of these to put in new science books.
Okay.
The books we have today are obsolete.
Yes, except most of the teachers don't, and the publishers don't know that, apparently.
Today I had a teacher, a physicist, who came over, and he said he would like to take one of the rods home to share with other physicists at his university, because what he saw when he held that rod and held a compass to it, and he saw that the North Pole kept flipping every time he turned the rod over, and that's physically impossible based on all known science that's printed. He said, can I take one of these home? What does it cost? And I said, the cost of education in this case is free. Take the rod and go with my blessing.
Wow.
So we need to have more people that have the courage to take this into public classrooms. Well, we have been threatened coast to coast and in Europe. Do not bring this on our campus. We don't want this technology. We cannot accept it. We will not talk about it.
So let's talk about what they don't want to talk about. What are the implications here? I mean, what's involved with acceptance of this technology, and not just acceptance, but deployment and embracing it?
Well, we have governments, not just here, but one government can control all of the others by being a bully on the block, a big brother, that we're going to tell other countries what they can and can't do, or we'll go to war with you. Well, the reason for that being, and if we have to lie to the public to make a war up, we'll do that. We don't care if we take down a few buildings. So what?
We've done
so
that.
A few hundred people have done it. So what? They died. Big deal. But war creates an income for their money machine, which is their nest eggs for later. They make money off of war. They make money off of drugs. And they make money off of oil. From the turn of the century in the 1800s, gasoline was a waste product. I can take crude oil right out of the ground mixed with 80% salt water and get 90 times more energy out of that as a fuel than you can from gasoline. All of the energy from the gasoline went up the smokestack. at the refinery.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm taking that step out of it. We can refine it right now on site where you can use it as a fuel. Crude oil can be used. The plastic bottle you have right here. If we took this right now and we heated it up, vaporized it, what do you have in my hand? You have gasoline, diesel, and kerosene. All of those are good fuel in my engine. So all I have to do is crush this up, put it in a heat chamber like a pressure cooker, heat it up, take the vapor, and I can run my engine.
Wow.
Now, if this is gas, diesel, and kerosene already, why are we dumping it in the garbage? Because we don't want to process it and take away profit from the government selling more oil.
Wow, you start thinking about, at least I'm picturing these dead zones in the ocean
Oh, yeah.
full of plastic.
Yeah, it's all money,
Wow. Well,
energy.
Yeah. It shows that energy is always energy. It just changes form,
Correct.
and it can transmute from one back to the other. Wow.
In 1994, when I went to Brigham Young University, I was snuck into the university nuclear lab. Dr. Jones and a few other people were there. We had to cover the engine up. We had to sneak in when classes were going on, bring it into the elevator, go downstairs, and we ran the engine for 3 days. And they couldn't figure out why there was helium coming out of the reactor. When we were pouring crude oil in, there was no helium in it, but we had helium, but we didn't have carbon. We didn't have sulfur. All the heavy elements were lightened. The transmutation to lighter elements that was running the engine was to them unknown. But they also said, we can't talk about this publicly, and if you ever do, we'll sue you. Well, I had to trap them into telling the truth. I went to the Deseret News, and I told the reporter what had happened there, and I showed him what the doctor had given me, and he said, well, let me verify this. So he called down there, and BYU said, oh, no, he was never, we don't even know Paul Pantone. Well, we have some papers in your handwriting. Well, I don't know where those came from. Well, is it true he has an atomic reaction? No, it isn't. What he has happening is oh. Well, they caught themselves up in a lie.
Yes.
We've done this over and over. We have exposed all of these liars from the government, universities, laboratories, where they didn't want to talk about what the results were. But when they got trapped into it, then they said, we really don't know what it is, and we can't make a comment.
Wow. Geez. Not even as a human being, because they could say, if it's true, this is great. They could say that.
But they can't.
Yes.
They're afraid they're going to lose their pensions, their retirements. They're afraid to do it. So when the attorneys for BYU called me up saying, if you ever mention our name in a news report or a video, we'll sue you for every nickel you've got. Well, I think I have enough right now on YouTube to sue BYU for a lot more than they've got, because we have people that work for BYU that pretended they were my camera crew so they could come out and steal from me. Then they went on blog radio and bragged about how they were trying to steal my technology,
Wow.
which is patented.
That's amazing. So let's break this down for even a layman, because I see the term fuel processor. So on an engine, you got an engine,
Yeah.
but then you got a component called this fuel processor. Is that the GEET technology?
That is the fuel processor, is what we call GEET technology.
Okay.
What happens is the exhaust is leaving the engine. As it's leaving the engine, we have a fuel pipe going in through the center of the exhaust in the opposite direction. Now, you have heat leaving, which always spins in a natural spin, clockwise towards the exhaust. We have the new vapor, which is ice cold, coming into that hot exhaust
you got a
drain.
temperature gradient going.
Tremendous temperature differential there.
Yeah.
With both of them are spinning in opposite directions,
Yes.
creating an electromagnetic field, while the heat is trying to be pulled into the coolness of the new vapor being pulled in. We have an expansion. And during the period of 3.5 inches, you can have as much as 100 to 150 increases where the vapor is actually doubled and redoubled and redoubled and redoubled. So you start out with 1 cubic inch of air moving into it, and you have 200 or 300 cubic inches coming out of it.
Yes. This
Now-
is how tornadoes do their thing.
I'm the only person I know right now on the planet that can actually create a tornado right here on this table that you could film and study and play with and actually stop a tornado.
Yeah.
That is in my training manual,
Okay.
which is one of the reasons I'm trying to get all the scientists to work for me here, is would you like to help document how to make a tornado and how to stop one?
Yes.
Would you like to be able to stop a tornado before it can cause damage? Would you like to be able to do x-rays without radiation? Would you like to do an MRI for under $100? We're doing things that are very revolutionary. All of it using GEET technology.
Okay. Wow.
All of it is basic natural phenomena.
Which is not taught in school.
Any school or university in the world except mine.
We're coming up to a break when our conversation with Paul Pantone of Global Environmental Energy Technology, or GEET, and GEETinternational.com. When we come back, we will continue. After these few messages, when Talk for Fuel, how about that? Talk for Food returns on web at talkradio.net. Jim Harshman is made to change from water treatment to water transformation technology, having installed a unit from Photonic Water Systems for almost 2 years now. He tells you in his own words what has changed.
Well, here's the problem we had when we built this house in 2005 or 2006. We got it done and found out the water was extremely hard. There was a lot of calcium buildup on the outside of the pool and also into the misters inside the courtyard. And so we know we had an issue with the water right off the bat. So in trying to solve that, this is where we started to play around with the different options that were in the market. Kind of explored what was on the home shows at the different green shows and also home shows that the Phoenix area was having. And it was just a major problem. So we had to get it solved. And we ran into the product and I guess we can't say enough about it. I mean, it took an intolerable scum problem, a white hard water problem, and just neutralize it to where we don't have the buildup anymore. We don't have the buildup on the pool, the courtyard, fountain, or into the various systems that we have, such as your misters and your shower heads. So it's 100% work. Now, how it works, I have no idea, but it's not how it works that I'm worried about it.
Available at photonicwater.com.
We come in all shapes and sizes, but for all our apparent differences, we share an important oneness.
I am my body, not.
Now your child can discover the oneness behind human diversity with I Am My Body, Not, from Philos Books. This progressive book, written by Adam Abraham, helps parents and teachers introduce some of the most basic human concepts and questions. Celebrate the body and the spirit with I Am My Body, Not. Order now, just $19.95 plus shipping and handling.
I Am My Body, Not, is available at Philos.com. That's PHAELOS.com. Order yours today.
Hi, this is Mary Meadows, and you're listening to Talk for Food on webtalkradio.net.
Second half of Talk for Food gets started right here and now on web at talkradio.net with Adam Abraham. And can you imagine some of the things that Paul Pantone is suggesting? Not only creating a tornado and learning how to stop it at will, radiation without radiation, or x-rays without the radiation. These are possible, but if you listen to science as it is presently presented to us, these ideas are just outside of our realm of even thinkability, much less doability or changeability. But these are the things we're starting to learn when we go outside of the box. From the GEET, or the Global Environmental Energy Technology Corporation or international website, here's some information from their description about GEET. The GEET fuel processor is an onboard compact plasma fuel refinery that renders just about any liquid into usable and highly volatile fuel by cultivating electromagnetic and other energy fields. And yes, it is healthy for you and your engine too. The GFT retrofit engine requires only a fraction of the fuel as the non-GFP engine to pull the same load for the same duration of time. The exhaust from the GFP retrofit engines is completely pollution-free and adds oxygen to the environment. You may have noticed that even in the clip, there was more oxygen coming out of the exhaust than went in. I mean, this is amazing. This technology has been around for several decades, is available today. The knowledge is available today. But what we have had to show for our efforts, I say we, meaning society, the people who have come forth and developed these devices are basically representatives of society. But if society as well, or other elements of society, are simply cutting them down or suppressing them or killing them, then society itself is not advancing. But on the other hand, the idea cannot be killed. And this is the thing that we need to start to understand. We cannot kill ideas by snuffing out people. The sooner we understand that and embrace ideas whose time have come, the better for us all. So let's continue.
And I own the GEET International Institute, and I teach it. Every week I try to bring a class, or every couple of weeks I bring a class in, and I teach them everything I can. Not just about GEET.
Okay.
I have over 650 other inventions. I teach things that go way beyond your curriculum you'll find anywhere in the world.
So the automobile engine, or the engine, so to speak, that the fuel processor that we're talking about, is just only one permutation then of this. You got a spectrum of things, is that it?
The GEET fuel processor will fit anything in the world or universe that uses fuel. So if it uses fuel today, it can be 2 to 3 times more efficient, minimum.
Wow. Wow.
Now, people who bring things forward, like Stan Myers and other inventors who are dead now, where they know how to run on water, most of them are killed pretty quickly. When I built my first Cadillac to run on water, I was told that I probably wouldn't live more than a week or two. After hearing that from my own father and my girlfriend and a few others, I decided to pull that off my Cadillac. And I buried it in the bottom of a well and covered it with some concrete. And I didn't talk about it for many years. But when I started coming out with something that was only double the mileage, and that still offended the government officials, they started following me, my cars were blown up, my house was burned down, my brakes were cut. I let it be known publicly that if anything happens to me again, I'm going to release the water plans for free. I'll give it to mankind, and that'll bury every government on this planet. I don't really care. If you want to mess with me trying to help clean up the planet, then I think it's my turn to mess with you. So bring it on. I'll wear the target, front and back, because I don't need to worry about it. God put me here to clean up a planet, and I'm going to do it. And Bush and all the rest of them aren't going to stop me.
The more we learn about how pervasive the wool has been pulled over our eyes, and plus some bricks have been put on it to keep it down. You know, it's hard to find people who understand. Of course, this is a beautiful thing that more people are waking up, though, because you're right. It is for us to make this change, not for our space brothers to come down, not for Second Coming, not for someone else to show up. It's for us to make this change.
Well, the horrific things I saw while they detained me for 3.5 years in a maximum security mental ward in Utah, because they said I was delusional. You can't run an engine on pickle juice Mountain Dew. Excuse me, Your Honor. We have 20 witnesses sitting in the courtroom. He said, I'm not going to listen to them. I write the laws for my courtroom, and I don't have to listen to them. So even though physical proof was there, I was still detained. I got to witness in people that were locked up being murdered. I got to watch abuse way beyond anything I've ever seen. And when I called the FBI and the local police, they said, I'm sorry, that hospital is off limits. It's not within our jurisdiction. Whoa, really? Murder isn't within your jurisdiction in the United States?
Of a federal agency, nonetheless?
So I learned a lot while I was in Utah, and I found out that the corruption level in Utah was basically because the system in Utah is owned and operated by the church in Utah. And there is no justice there. So whatever they say today is the church rules.
Jeez, wow.
So I found out that hell is right here on earth. And a good part of it starts in places like Utah. So people complain about, well, the Muslims believe this and these believe. Well, it's not any one religion, my friend. It's all of them.
Absolutely.
We have some problems here that are horrific because we have allowed them. We had a group of philanthropists that wanted to work with me. But when they heard how good it was, they had to call congressmen and senators up to find out, would it be all right for them to work with me?
So you know, we got this dictum, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. And now, on the other hand, the truth is better than than you can imagine. Wow.
A philanthropist group in Utah, down by Provo area, had gotten a hold of me, and they said that they wanted to work with me, but these politicians had to be consulted. I said, why? They said, well, we didn't consult them when we shipped a container load or several container loads of food over to Ethiopia and Syria. I said, well, what was the problem? And they said, well, they made us dump the food off in the ocean because they didn't want the people over there to have food. I said, wait a minute. Wow. You're telling me you dumped millions of dollars worth of food in the ocean? They said, we had to. I said, wait, they want the people in Africa to die. Absolutely. That's part of the population control. Don't you understand it?
So this guy is basically saying that since we couldn't continue to get payment from them, we went on and dumped it just because they said to do so. Is that basically it?
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So I said, why are you looking at putting money in me then? Because obviously, if the government doesn't want me running on water, they don't want me to double the mileage, why are you looking at me? And they said, well, we're trying to see if it's all right to work with you. 2 days later, they called me up and said, Mr. Pantone, we were told by congressmen and senators we're not allowed to work with you. The White House won't let us.
Jeez, wow. We're talking with Paul Pantone, the developer of GEET technology, which I'm finding is, a treasure trove, you talk about a tool chest of many, many elements that could help us to transform a world in a way we sorely need to do it.
Yeah, right now. Man. We could double the mileage or better on every piece of equipment on the entire planet. But that means our great government would lose half that interest on road tax. And that means more to them than your safety, my safety, for our families.
Well, it's safety, it's health,
and billions of dollars.
You're talking about the pollution.
Yeah.
You're talking about all the efforts that are going into the exploration. You're talking about the burning up of the fuels. I mean, all of these things that are going on, the chemicals that we're using, it goes on and on and on. It's very, very pervasive.
Within the next year, you'll be lucky if you can buy water. It's going to be much more expensive. That's why T. Boone Pickens and all these other people and Bush have bought up all the water rights they can in the world to every place they can.
Nestle's been not only drilling, but cross-drilling and sucking up other people's stuff.
Yeah, right out of Lake Michigan and all over. They're gathering all the water they can so you won't be able to have water. Sorry about that.
Wow. So, since people not only like you and me for this matter are not going to stop talking about it, and there's so many people now seeing that we have to do something. And probably the first thing is to have some courage. You see, that was one of the main things that were lacking when you tell me that someone stopped a ship that was already on its way to Africa and dumped millions of dollars in the ocean because someone called them and said, don't do it. You're listening to Talk for Food on webtalkradio.net with Adam Abraham, and we're talking with Paul Pantone of Global Environmental Energy Technology, or GEET, GEET International.com. And you got some ideas here on some of the things that are possible and some of the backbone that is necessary to make those changes. And again, it begins by looking in the mirror and seeing what it is that you and I can do. How can we see ourselves? What ideas, what outcomes we can put our minds to. When you hear an outcome being presented to you by someone who is a scientist and they're telling you about the end of the world and how this or that's going to happen and all the destruction, stop and ask yourself, is that what I want? Because guess what? You have a role in the creation of it. And if you sit back and let an authority say that this is the way things are going to be and not sit up and say, nope, I don't think so, I prefer this, then you're going to get what you allow. Let's continue.
Well, about 15 years ago, I got a call from a gentleman out of Seattle, and he said he was on a ship. It was a health ship. They were leaving the area, going out into the ocean. They wanted to go out 250 miles so they could treat and cure people on the ship. But they were stopped by the National Coast Guard group saying, if you go out any further, we have to take the numbers off your ship, and we're going to take away your passports because you will not be allowed to come back to this country, and your ship will not be registered as a U.S. ship anymore. Now, do you want to turn around, or do you want to lose your country? I'm sorry. I get calls like this from all over the world, people calling me up, telling me these horrible things our government has done. I have a problem with this. And it was difficult for me to believe such corruption until I can be arrested in the courtroom for being delusional when I've got working prototypes. And when I can look the judge in the eye and say, Your Honor, would you like to pee in the gas tank and I'll prove it works? And he says, no, I don't want to. Because according to my book, it doesn't.
Wow. That's kind of like the people in the Roman Catholic Church with Galileo wouldn't look in the telescope because they might see the moon.
You got it.
Wow. Some things don't change, do they?
History repeats itself. And those in power can destroy themselves. And right now, if the people are smart and they start standing up for their rights and grow a little bit of a spinal fortitude there, I believe the people can get the government to back down. But right now, they have a complete system that is out of control. When police officers, they're no longer peace officers, but I see so much disrespect for policemen, it's not funny. Where I used to respect an officer when he walked up and said, excuse me, sir, your taillight is out. Now they come up and say, hey, you, MF, get out of the car. Excuse me. I'm the same person I was years ago, only much wiser. Why do you need to talk to me that way? And the response is that I'm some low-life slimeball. What did I do wrong? So I'm experiencing things I used to hear as a kid that other people were complaining about. They called it racial problems. Well, yeah. You know what?
It's still profiling.
Yeah, it's a different profile. Really, I didn't do it. Our system has gotten really cattywampus here. We need to put things back into perspective. When a man comes to the table and says, I want to clean up your air, I want you to have double or triple your mileage, I want to help Earth, and they're saying that's criminal, wait a minute, what planet am I on?
Yeah, you really wonder. I mean, and they do it in a lot of ways because unless the memo came from channels that they recognize as being. Now, I have gone through, I think I mentioned to you that I produced this documentary on MMS. And
oh, I'd like to hit that right now.
Yeah, and so it's like, no clinical trials and this.
2 years ago, I really want to say that. 2 years ago, I was downloading information from the Canadian national government up there was saying that they were using MMS exclusively instead of the N1H1 virus shots because it didn't kill one single Canadian, and ours down here killed 14,000 Americans or more. And they said MMS, the problem with it was curing people. Now, all of a sudden, because FDA raises hell with the government up there, they're saying, oh, it doesn't work anymore. Now, the same thing happened in Japan with a similar type process to Kangen water, where the water, when it's properly treated, and I have met inventors going back 18 years, I've been in the room with them, I've seen their test results, and it's real. Water can be used as a disinfectant, which is much better than any chemical known to man. Yet we're going to support chemical companies like Huntsman.
Paul may have described and found a very useful purpose or application for the electrolysis or the water ionizing systems, not so much from the standpoint of making drinkable water, but actually making water that is not drinkable, but due to its high acid content and made possible by the electrolysis process, it is a very effective solvent, disinfectant, cleaner, and many other purposes that are very good for using what they call very low pH or very highly acidic water.
I'm sorry, why do I want to buy a chemical for $200 a gallon when water will do the job 100 times better?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, we live in a sick society when we can wipe out the truth and create the image that chemicals like Monsanto are good for you. I'm sorry, drink your own Roundup. I don't want it.
Well, is eat now with the corn. The fact that they can, I used to recall even when I was coming up, there were antitrust laws. And here, they're now getting to a point where soy and corn are, vast majority of which are now proprietary seeds. How can someone own a seed, the rights to a species of plant? That is, not only that, we've gotten this idea for so many generations without questioning the wisdom of using pesticides and herbicides in the first place.
You're just hitting the tip of the iceberg right now, so am I. I think we could probably do an 80-hour special here on these things. I have so much of this information in my computer. I get it from all over the world. I've read the reports from South America, from Africa and other countries. I have actually talked to some of the military people that have said, we are killing off the people in Africa so we can own that property. We are trying to stop Libya from going forward so we can steal the water line so we can own the water. It wasn't about oil this time, it was all about water. Gaddafi was ready to put in the biggest single water system in the world so that Africa could have food. They don't want Africa to have food, they want them to starve to death and die.
Well, the fascinating thing about it, what you do to others, you do to yourself. And it's happening, the things that are there intending to others is happening right here, right now on this country.
Well, I didn't ask for the knowledge I have. When I was 5 years old, I would wake up from dreams and say, Mom, our house is on fire. And she'd call the neighbor and say, check and see. No, it's not our house, it's the neighbor's house. Oh, okay. Well, we saved the neighbor's life. Well, another time I woke up, Mom, I know how to do coma surgery. I can take somebody in a coma or a quad or a paraplegic and take them out of their condition. It's real easy, and I told her how to do it. And she said, write all your dreams down, son. Please write them down. Well, I had dreams of things long before they happened. I knew when earthquakes were going to happen, days, weeks, months ahead of time. I see accidents before they happen. I've seen things I don't want to see, and I don't like what I'm seeing. But I've also seen the flip side of it. So I'm going to be here for a long time.
Good. You're not going to be alone. One thing I want to do, because I anticipate, I'm happy talking to you, and I hope to talk to you again and more. But I want to talk, let's talk about how are you presenting this and helping, how is the public interacting? What are you doing to get this information in a way that people can use? I know you're teaching and one thing, but tell me about that.
I'm setting up distributorships around the world. If somebody comes in and wants to be a distributor, we set them up as a distributor. We teach them how to do the technology so they can go back to their country and build it with their native people at whatever their native rate is so it can be affordable in their country. I don't want it made in China and brought over here or shipped to Africa. No. I want to put the Africans to work. I want to put the Europeans to work. Build it for your own people. But I have so many hundreds of inventions, I can afford to give the invention of your country to you to market. So you don't need to be marketing something that fits Canada. They need to have different needs. I want people to have what they need. But at the same time, I give away for free the knowledge on how to have better crops and do things that you can't find in a science book. That's a gift. God brought it all to me so I could share it back with people. I'm not opening a site up for shareware. I'm only sharing this with my dealers, so my dealers can set up and they can begin sharing in each of their communities to help build the credibility in their community that the people know these people are honest. We're not trying to make a buck from all of these different products. GEET is the only thing that GEET represents. All the rest of it is a gift. The average vehicle, you're looking...
How complicated are these things?
$100 and $2,500 to convert it to get about 50% to 80% improvement in mileage.
And I realize that's as much as you...
Legally, I can only go that far, period.
Understood. Now, the idea of sovereignty, you know, but we won't talk about that right now.
That's a whole different show.
I know. So, good. Well, as far as people who are listening or watching this video, would they be contacting you through a website or what?
They can go to my website at geetinternational.com, or they can give me a call, 580-251-0651. I have been threatened by governments. I've been approached by other people. I've even met with the Prince of Kuwait. And when I showed him the pictures that I put on the internet, and I said, oh, I put the worst model I ever made in my life up on the internet. It works. And if anything happens to me, the other part of this goes up on the internet, how to run on water. So if anything happens to me, you're out of business.
Well, the nice thing is that we're both picturing and imagining a lot more of you in the flesh to guide this. Hope you see what I mean when I talk about national treasures. It's often or not often that we have a chance to meet them. It's not often that we have a chance to recognize someone who has something positive, valuable to give. Not only that they have something that is positive and valuable to give, but they're giving it. And then it makes you wonder why we are not embracing it, why we're not using it, why this technology has been available for so long and yet it's so unavailable. Well, then you start to answer and see why I've answered the question for myself as to why we have been sliding into second world status on our way to third. You know, you cannot condemn banana republics for being the purveyors of bananas when, you know, it seems like monkeys are running our own ship. Okay? And I don't mean to disparage monkeys, because at very least they have an intelligent society. Nature is guiding them. Thank you to Paul Pantone. For more information on GEET, go to geetinternational.com. And if you have any questions, comments for me, you can contact me by email at adam@talkforfood.com. And in the meantime, be yourself, be vigilant, be aware, be excited, be, in fact, enthusiastic about the possibilities, because if you have become disillusioned, it's simply because you now are seeing more clearly. All right? And with clearer sight, we have a chance to turn some really not just dim light bulbs, but fuzzy ones into laser beams. At any rate, we'll be back next week when Talk for Food returns on web at talkradio.net. I'm Adam Abraham, and we're out of here. Thank you for watching and listening. We'll see you next week.
Talk for Food is a Phylos MediaWorks production.